Hi everyone, in this video we're going to create a multi-clipboard script which uses control numpad keys to copy and alt numpad keys to paste them back out. Now this script also saves a backup of all the clipboards including texts and images and loads them back up upon a relaunch of the script. If you want to learn how to create a script like this, please continue watching. Now before we begin, there's actually a Windows 10 native feature that allows you to use multiple clipboard, which works by pressing the Start key and the V key, and then you get a window like this that shows you the historical clipboards. Now if you double click into any of these items, the items will be pasted into your active window. Now if you don't have that, then you can go to Start and type out clipboard, and then switched on this button here, or toggle button, to enable the Start and V to bring up this window. Alright, so let's go ahead and learn how to create a multiple clipboard script. And what I'm first going to do is to create a loop. And I'm creating this loop and I gave it a number of 3. This means I'm going to use numpads from 1 to 3. I can change this to 9 to use up to numpad 9. But for now, I'll just create only 3 loops. So what I'm going to do in this loop is I'm going to create a hotkey using the hotkey command, and I will call the hotkey control numpad and a underscore index. So first iteration of the loop will have an a index of 1. So that will mean the hotkey is going to be control numpad 1. And I'm going to give this a label of copy, and I'll create that label later on and then switch on this hotkey. And I'm also going to do the same, except that I'm going to change the control to alt, and then that's it. Now I'll stop the script here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the labels. Actually, I have to change this to paste. So the second one is going to be a paste and the paste label here. Now, once I'm here, what I want to do is I will just quickly do a message box of this hotkey. And what this will do, let me just go ahead and run the script and run the control numpad 1 and message box this hotkey will show me the hotkey that I have run, right? So I've got this control numpad 1, and if I do alt numpad 1, I have the old script running. So let me just get out of that old script. There we go. So alt numpad 1 shows me alt numpad 1 is the hotkey when I press that hotkey. And so how I'm going to use this is, because I'm going to use the same sort of method for all these hotkeys, I'm going to go ahead and create a function down here. And let me just put clipboard ID in here for now. Then put curly braces. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the clipboard ID to represent the numpad number. And to get this numpad number, I'm going to use the substring function to just grab the number of the numpad. So if I save this, run it, and go control numpad 1, I just get the number 1. And if I go control numpad 2, I get number 2. If I go control numpad 3, I get just the number 3. So I'm going to use that as a way to feed into this copy function as an argument. So let me just go ahead and create the line that does the calling of the function. So I'm going to use copy, which is the function down here, and then pass this whole thing, which is going to be the number of the number pad, and that gets passed as an argument. So clipboard ID goes in here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this global first because I need the variables that are going to be used within this function to be accessible by outside of this function. So when I come back to say this label, I want to be able to, especially the paste label, I want to be able to access the variables that I'm going to create from this copy function. So let me go clipboard equals to delete everything that's inside the clipboard and then send Control C to copy the new content that is selected into my clipboard. And then I'm going to go clip wait for 2 seconds and then the second parameter to be set as 1, and that waits for any type of data including images. Now tooltip, and let's say copied. I'm gonna show a tooltip that says copied, and then I will go clipboard ID inside these parentheses, and this will represent the pad number here that gets fed in as an argument when I run the function from the label. Now, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to store everything inside the clipboard. So clipboard all, and this goes into clipboard data and clipboard ID like that. So the clipboard that gets saved when I run this line of code, send Control C, the clipboard gets stored into clipboard data, and these percentage signs wrapping the clipboard ID means clipboard data 1 if the numpad is 1, right? So that gets saved, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to file append. This is to back up the clipboard data, clipboard all, into a underscore script and clipboard ID percentage sign. So what this does is it will back up what's inside the clipboard all into this file called clipboard. And if the numpad is 1, this is going to be 1, so clipboard 1 in this folder, which is the same folder as where the script is saved. So there's no extension, the extension is not required. So the file name, there's only going to be a file name, and that's going to be clipboard 1 for numpad 1, clipboard 2 for numpad 2, and so on and so forth. Now, you can also put in file delete, which is not a necessity as per the official documentation of the AutoHotkey, but you can delete this as well if you so wish before doing a file append, right? In which case, you remove the old backup and then create a new one with the file append command. Okay, so now I'm gonna put a sleep of 1 second because this is gonna happen pretty instantly, all of this, and because I have to turn the tooltip off later. I'm putting in the sleep for a second so I can see the tooltip for at least a second. Now, so that's it for the copy command. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the same method to create the paste function, which I'm gonna create down here. Paste. Let me just put some enters here so you can see. Paste clipboard ID, same thing. The number in the number pad is clipboard ID. Now I'm going to store the old clipboard into my variable called all clipboard, and I'm gonna bring this back in. So when I paste the data that is in clipboard ID, I want to reserve what's there in the clipboard as and when I run the paste function. So I stored that into old clipboard variable. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to clean up the clipboard and then load the clipboard with the clipboard that I have created up here. So clipboard data that I have saved up here as I called the copy function. So clipboard data, clipboard ID. So this becomes 1 if the numpad is 1. So if I use Control C, it calls the copy function and it feeds number 1 as the clipboard ID. And then down here, clipboard data 1 gets stored with the clipboard all data, and then paste is to call that and put that, call that and then put that into the clipboard. That's what it's doing. And then I'm going to make it wait for 2 seconds, and again 1 for the second parameter to wait for any kind of data, and then go send Control V to paste the data in, and then tooltip paste it this time, and then parenthesis, and put in the clipboard ID, and then we have to put the old clipboard back into the clipboard, and then sleep for 1 second, and then turn off the tooltip like that. So the function is already there, and so this command is going to create a backup of the clipboards that I have copied using the numpads. Now, when I start up the script, I have to load up the saved clipboards, and how that's gonna work is I'm going to start a loop, and it's gonna be an infinite loop, and I'll put a break down here somewhere when the condition is met, and the condition I'll go into a bit later. Now, the first thing I want the loop to do is to check whether, using the if statement, file exists. So what file am I going to look for? Now, this script is saved in this folder, right? And the file I'm going to look for is the file that is created down here with the file append command. So I'm going to go ahead and make references to that by going a_scripter and clipboard a index. So in the first iteration of the loop, a index is going to be 1, and so that's going to be clipboard 1, which is going to be the file name, and that file is going to be in the a_scripter. Now, if that file does exist, what I want it to do is to file read clipboard data a_index. So this is the output variable, and if you remember what this is the clipboard data, clipboard ID that gets saved when you copy using the copy function here. So it's similar to that, except that this time it's reading from the file. What is the file? I have to put in *c to be able to read clipboard backup data, and the file is a_scripter clipboard a_index. So that's going to be clipboard 1 for the first iteration of the loop inside the a_scripter, which is this folder right here. Now, if the file does not exist, then we're going to break out of the loop. So this loop is to continuously run. It's going to do first check whether the clipboard 1 file exists, and then if it does, then it will read and put the content of that file into clipboard data a index, so clipboard data 1. And then the second iteration of the loop, it will check whether clipboard 2 exists and do the same, 3 exists, do the same, and then none exists, then it will go break out of the loop. So let me just also create an emergency exit here, and then run the script and test it out by Control numpad 1 to copy that in. So I get the tooltip, and then I also get the backup file created right here, as you can see, clipboard. And let me copy this as a second example, and let's see. Okay, so the clipboard number 2 backup has been created as well. So let me copy this one as the third one, and numpad 3, clipboard 3 gets copied. So let me see if my data has been copied successfully by pasting them back out. So numpad 1 with an alt key, there we go. Alt key with numpad 2 works. Alt key and numpad 3 also works. So it worked successfully, copying and pasting the data back out. Now, if I get out of the script by pressing the exit key, Now, if I try to control numpad 1 to copy this selected text, it doesn't do anything. I don't see the tooltip, and that's because I've exited out of the script, right? But if I run the script again, it will read the clipboard backup data. And then if I bring up my notepad, so I ran the script now. If I go Alt numpad 1, I get the data back out. Numpad 2 and numpad 3, I get the backed up data loaded back up onto my clipboard data A index. So in this way, you can create multiple clipboards and save the backup data in here. So let me just go ahead and open up my Chrome to go and find some formatted text. So if I go to the clipboard documentation, let me just copy that, and then let me copy that using the control 1. So that gets copied in. So the file size has gone up a little bit, as you can see. So if I bring up my Word and did Alt numpad 1, then the formatted text gets successfully pasted in with the formats saved. Now, and I have a Excel spreadsheet that contains a whole bunch of random data. Now, Excel is a bit odd. It does copy, but it's a bit odd in the sense that if you have too much data, you get a warning message. So let me try, and so there's 50 rows of data across 4 columns. So if I try to copy this using the control numpad 2, it works successfully, it looks like, and that was copied in. Oh, that's a massive file size for such a small amount of data. And if I did Alt numpad 2, it gets pasted in successfully. But if I say, I'm just gonna, how many rows is it? I've just pasted, how many rows is it? 100. Let's say I want to make it 200. So I have 200 rows of data across 4 columns, and I'll select all of it and then go numpad 2. It says the picture is too large and will be truncated. Now, if I went to go Alt numpad 2, it does successfully paste it. I think it didn't copy that successfully. Okay, control numpad 2 and then Alt numpad 2. There we go. So all the data had been copied to my the second clipboard and then pasted in. And I think I can also paste that into Paint. If I did a numpad 2 here, maybe not. If I did a select, would that work? Oh, there we go. So it gets pasted in as an image as well. Okay. And then the third thing I'm gonna do is an image. So I'm going to use my snipping tool, this one, and then copy this using actually to use that I have to set the input level to 1 using the input level directive, and that's because when you don't have this, now my snipping tool has a hotkey called Control-C in order to copy this. So I copied it by doing Control-C. I can paste it using Control-V into Paint like that. Now that is a hotkey, and if you don't have this input level 1 set up, then this script will not trigger that hotkey in my screen clipping tool using the send command. So send command Control-C will not trigger that hotkey unless you have the input level 1. So if you put the input level 1, let me get out of the script and rerun it and take a snippet of this folder and then go Control-C. That has been copied to my clipboard. So let me get out and then go to Paint. You can see that the file size has gone up to 1 megabyte, and paste it out using Alt and numpad 3. There we go. So that's all good. Now let me get out of the script, and now let me just confirm that my script has ended. So I just did a Control numpad 1 and didn't copy that, and then run the script again. So this should have read all the clipboard data into my clipboard data A index. So right now, if I go to, let me bring up my Excel again and go Alt numpad 1, which should be a text. I don't remember. Here we go. Oh, that's the text from the AutoHotkey website, right? And if I did numpad alt numpad 2, it pastes in the random set of data, which is how many rows is that? 200 rows of data across 4 columns. And then if I go to paint and select that and alt numpad 3, it pastes in the image file, which is loaded up from the backup file there. Now this also works for copying a file as well. So if I did say, for example, I'm going to go ahead and copy this temp script 1, right, and then paste it back out using alt numpad 1, and it creates a copy of that. Although copying and pasting and creating a backup of that and loading the backup is a little bit quirky, so I advise you not to rely on this for copying files. But for text and images, it works really fine. Alright, this is it for today's video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.